Okay, people. You know we can't do this project unless we can send workers home safely everywhere, every day. And as everyone knows, we need to work together and look out for one another. Any thoughts?
I couldn't agree with you more. My father built buildings. My son is now starting out in the business. I don't want anything to happen to him.
We can do this. Let's get things together and let's safely build a building that we can all be proud of.
Every person is responsible for safety. All of the rules and fines will not take the place of just good, safe practices. As part of this project, you have the right to a safe workplace. To create this, every worker is empowered to stop unsafe activities, even if it means stopping a coworker's operation. All operations must be pre-planned and properly communicated, as no one is expendable. You will need to be accountable for setting up and completing every task in the safest possible way. We must also protect the public with proper signage and work zones, and maintain conduct appropriate for the professionals we are. When entering and exiting, use only the approved locations, and if subject to security check-in, make sure to keep your badge on and visible at all times. On all sites, visitors will be required to adhere to the prescribed safety and security measure also. If you see a person that is not adhering to or is obviously not part of the construction team, ask them to move to a safe location and inform your supervisor. Communication is extremely important. Be sure to communicate not only with your supervisor but also with your fellow contractors. Pre-planning is a process that starts before the job and plans operations to allow for them to be done safer and with less impact to everyone else, even the environment. This process should include where the work is going to take place, what is going to be done, what specific hazards exist for the operation, who could possibly be impacted, and the time frame of the operation. We can also think through the ergonomics at this time. Make sure the people doing the work are not exposed to dangerous repetitive motions. You must also avoid overexertion by not doing more than you can safely handle. In most cases, the use of mechanical lifting devices will be the best solution.
You know, we started staging materials a little higher off the ground, so we don't have to reach as far. What a difference. We're actually getting more work done, and we're not killing ourselves.
That's great. We must also make sure that we have the proper personal protective equipment and training for the site.
Before entering the job site, the personal protective gear you're going to need is a hard hat, safety glasses, high visibility gear, a shirt with sleeves, pants, and boots. And remember, those are the minimum requirements you need to enter the job site.
Even though you and your crew have required PPE for your operations, and we will check that you've had the training, use your common sense.
I agree. I think protecting your hands is critical. I know too many people that have caused major damage to their hands, and it was stupid, because if they had gloves on, they would have been fine.
Turner Construction is all about building life, and that means living injury-free every day. Now, as subcontractors, you are all responsible for making sure your employees have the right gear. And furthermore, everyone can come see me or any other Turner representative on site if they are ever told to do anything without the proper PPE. And there will be consequences.
Permits will be required for many specific operations. Be sure you have the correct permit and have met all of the permit actions prior to doing the work. Most of these actions will be part of your pre-planning operation. To ensure that it is done properly and safely, they will be checked.
For the hot work, we need to have fire protection, including a proper fire extinguisher and a fire watch. And when done, we need to make sure that the gas tanks are separated and stored properly.
And don't forget confined space, excavations, lockout, tagout. They're all going to require a competent person to plan the work and make sure the permits are in place.
A confined space is any space with limited or restricted entry or exit and is not designed for continuous human occupancy. Never enter a confined space without an approved plan and proper supervision. All hot work must be properly planned, permitted, and conducted. Proof of proper training must also be available. Prior to doing any demolition, be sure to review it with your supervisor and that all precautions have been taken. Excavations must be properly protected as described on the permit and never left, even momentarily, in an unguarded state. Be sure that a competent person has made the evaluation as to the type of protection against collapse and that there is proper access and egress. All hazardous materials brought onto the site must be properly labeled and in approved containers. MSDS sheets must be available upon request, and every worker must take the precautions described.
For gasoline and other flammable liquids, these must be properly labeled and stored in approved containers.
Only metal gas cans with flash arresters are allowed, and there should always be fire extinguishers nearby.
And while we're on gas cans, tell them to fill the gas equipment outside of the building in an area with safe ventilation, and not to run the gasoline engines in the building. This will avoid the buildup of harmful vapors.
Job boxes are a great tool on the job site, but you need to remember not to store any hazardous or combustible material inside them, things like compressed gas or gasoline cans.
Fall protection can encompass many phases of the project. Anyone working above 6 feet is required to adhere to the Turner Fall Protection Guidelines. This means proper safety protection such as guardrails with top rail, mid-rail, and toe boards or hole covers. When these are not available, a fall arresting system complete with proper harness and lanyard must be utilized. A leading-edge system is only allowed on Turner projects when used in conjunction with a personal fall arrest system for those in the identified area and a warning line system that identifies and delineates the area. Monitor systems are prohibited on Turner projects. Proper tie-off locations should be part of your pre-planning operation.
I remember this one time. This guy was using this tall ladder and he just hooked his lanyard to a pipe, and when he slipped, he couldn't hold his weight.
Yeah, but even short ladders can be dangerous.
And don't forget, if your lanyard is too long, you will hit the ground. So do the math.
Ladders are inherently a source of accidents, so make sure to use them properly. Proper ladder training needs to be completed by your employer prior to use. Only Type 1 heavy-duty or Type 2 extra heavy-duty ladders in good working order are allowed on site. When using extension ladders, make sure they extend 3 feet beyond the top and are properly tied off at the top and bottom. Always use 3 points of contact when climbing a ladder. In an open floor area, be sure to properly guard around the opening with a corral and gate system. Materials should not be transported using a ladder unless the user can maintain 3 points of contact. There should be a rope next to extension ladders for moving materials. On self-supporting ladders, the belt buckle is a good rule of thumb. If you need to position your belt buckle outside of the frame of the ladder or the top of the ladder to access your work, you need to reposition or select another method to do your work. Lifts, more than ladders, give workers a more secure platform, cut down needless climbing up and down, and allow staging of materials right where the work is being performed. Proper pre-planning of your work should almost eliminate ladder usage. All aerial lifts used on-site must be used with a personal fall protection system. If using a scissor-type lift, the manufacturer or the project safety program will specify if a personal fall arrest system is required.
What about lifts? What can we do to make their operation safer?
They have to protect the area around the operation. This includes making sure that they are not working over people.
And when they get in, they have to fasten the mid-rail chain.
They need to stay within the lift and try not to reach or overextend themselves. And they better not stand on the rail or the materials in the lift. That defeats the guardrail.
Well, and the person running it needs to be aware of the things above them, such as piping and electrical wires, as well as making sure they're on solid, level ground, and the housekeeping around them is good.
Housekeeping is one of the key responsibilities that everyone on the site is responsible for and has the biggest impact on the job site's safety, quality, and even productivity.
There are trash cans throughout the site. There's nothing worse than having food and trash lying around.
We need to plan for proper disposal and recycling also.
That's right. Scraps have to go into the right container. Paper and paper, metal and metal. Well, good housekeeping is more than just picking up after yourself. It goes to proper storage and usage of materials.
Properly stacking and storing materials can prevent injuries and keep up good housekeeping. When workers have clear access, there is less housekeeping to do, and productivity goes up. All materials brought onto the site must be planned and stored in the proper location, keeping stairways, hallways, and exit routes clear at all times. This goes for electrical and mechanical service locations and safety apparatuses such as eye wash stations. Electricity on the site must not be taken for granted. Only licensed electricians can install and modify an electrical service. Proximity work must be avoided. This is any trade work that is done within 10 feet of any live or unguarded electrical service.
Electricity is deadly. It takes only half an amp to stop the heart of a person a lot healthier than...
That's not much, considering the normal outlet can deliver 15 amps before the breaker trips.
A GFCI does help with that. Makes the circuit trip faster, and that's why it's required on the job. But it still deserves your respect.
Everyone must make sure to inspect everything before they start, making sure the cords and switches are intact. And we don't want to forget that all panels must be covered, with all breaker openings full, and electrical rooms must be locked once we energize the building.
What about extension cords?
They have to be heavy-duty approved cords, in good condition, free from any nicks, with its ground intact.
And make sure that they're run safely, not through windows or doors. And make sure that they don't cause a tripping hazard either.
And one of the best practices I've seen for ensuring this is the Friday cord roll-up. Everyone must inspect them before they roll out again Monday morning.
The environment of a job site can be challenging, making safe operations even more important.
Remember, we're going through several seasons here, so when it's cold, be sure to dress appropriately.
When it's hot, the work should be scheduled to take advantage of the cooler times of day. and make sure that everyone has enough water or electrolytes in their system.
Rain presents many hazards that you must be careful of, such as the addition of mud and slippery conditions. On interiors, all efforts must be made to keep water controlled. Never remove exterior protection. Always store materials off the ground and covered, and any water must be removed as soon as possible. Proper pre-planning and coordination of trade work will help dry in a building faster. Don't forget that keeping mud, water, and debris out of the building keeps it clean and is a much better work environment. Proper drainage must also be part of the pre-planning process.
Most operations require some lifting and moving of heavy products and equipment. Be sure to think ahead and move the materials into a safe place that doesn't create a hazard and doesn't have to be moved multiple times.
And never overload a scaffold or a platform. If it looks unsafe, don't do it.
When lifting products, do it properly. Lift only what is manageable, be it weight or size. Lift with your legs and keep from twisting your torso. Seek assistance for products that are too big or awkward. There are several things you can do personally that will ensure you have a long and healthy career. Your muscles need to be ready to work, similar to warming up a piece of equipment. Before working, complete some stretches and warm-ups. Work smart. Take the time to move materials to the proper working level and location.
One of our biggest challenges is working around non-construction personnel. We must be sure that our operations don't interfere or put them in harm's way.
This means minimizing work over occupied areas, confining work to specific areas, removing any tripping hazards, and being aware of special consideration as to smells and sounds. These all must be considered and discussed as part of the pre-planning procedures. Everyone on site must also adhere to the facility's security regulations and obey any warnings or restrictions the facility might have.
Turner Construction's goal is not only to deliver a high-quality project to the owner, but also to do it in a non-confrontational, safe environment. Now, to this end, there will be a no-tolerance policy for harassment, fighting, or any other distractions to the work at hand. If everyone does their part, at the end of the day, we can all go home proud knowing we did our job, and we did it safely, achieving our goal of building life, which means living injury-free every day.